Last week, I talked about how Monday Night Raw was not made for you and me, the hardcore wrestling fan. It was made for the new fans that WWE was trying to pull in from watching Netflix. It was made for the executives in the crowd. It was a broader vision of what WWE basically is going to look like in the future on Netflix, or what they want you to think it's going to look like. And this week, the second week on Netflix is basically made for you and me. It's made for the people who are going to be watching every single week, the people who came last week and actually tuned back in. This is what to expect from WWE Monday Night Raw going forward. I watched Monday Night Raw last night. I have quite a bit to say about it. So without further ado, I guess this is my January 13th edition of Monday Night Raw review on Netflix. Got a couple notes before we get into what happened on the show. Firstly, it looks like you guys genuinely enjoyed this episode of Monday Night Raw. Compared to last week's 5.28 rating, we have an 8.65 rating on Cage Match. Now, I know this isn't a grand metric for how great a show is, but I feel like it's one of those things where it shows you a pretty level, understanding of what the general opinion for the hardcore fans are. Because casual fans are not going to Cage Match. Casual fans don't even know what CageMatch.net is. So if you want to understand what the hardcore fans thought, this is the website to go to. I go to this website almost every day. This week's episode clocked in at 2.5 hours. The show ended at 10:32 p.m. and I thought it was beautiful. I want them to do this more going forward. Now, I understand that they have an open time slot. They can go as long as they want or as short as they want. And it's not likely they're going to do 2.5 hours every single week. And as judging by this week, it is not confirmed they're going to be doing 3 hours every single week. Triple H said it already in an interview that they will go as long as they feel the show needs. And this show did not need to be 3 hours. I thought it was the perfect time slot. I've never and will probably never like 3 hours of wrestling. I think it's unnecessary. I want you guys to comment down below and tell me how you feel about 3 hours of wrestling, or how you guys feel about 2.5 hour Raws. Do you want more of them, or do you think it should be longer? Do you think it should be shorter? Comment down below, let me know. And another note, they stuck to the 4-match format from last week. Last week, they only announced 4 matches, and they kept it at 4 matches. This week, they announced 4 matches, and they added one, but it was a 4-minute match that, if you removed from the show, literally adds nothing. So, realistically, they kept to a 4-match format. Now, my question to you guys is, do you think this should be the format going forward, where every week they do only 4 to 5 matches? Now, we've seen over the last 3 years, Triple H sees pay-per-views as 5 matches, maybe 6 on a good week. WrestleMania comes around, maybe 7. But sticking to 4 to 5 matches on a 2.5 to 3 hour show could be a little dicey. That does mean more ads. That does mean more segments. And I think if you guys are people who like, segments, like feud, feud advancements that don't always revolve around wrestling in the ring, then I think the 4 to 5 match format could actually benefit you guys. I don't mind it. I think much like Triple H saying that they're going to adjust the show accordingly week by week, I think week by week they can adjust how many matches they do. I don't think we need to do 4 matches every single week. I think that might be a bit harming to the roster, because if you're doing 4 matches and they're all singles matches, that's only 10 people a week you're featuring on your show in the ring. We all know that Monday Night Raw roster is 6 times bigger than 10? Maybe not 60, but you get the point. And my last note before I get into what I liked about the show, the drone shots. We got to talk about this real quick. Last week I said that Monday Night Raw on Netflix was the best produced episode of WWE television that I have ever seen. The camera angles, the lighting, the drone shots, the sound design, the stage design, everything bottled into one in that 3-hour format looked crisp, looked beautiful, especially the max graphics. I mean, everything was perfect. And we didn't get every little thing we got last week, and I didn't expect us to, but we got, I would say, most of what we got last week, and that was good enough. The drone shots returned last week, and while I do appreciate, and I love the drone shots, and I understand the idea and the usage of the drone shots is to show the crowd, show the environment, set the tone for what you are to expect or what's coming into the show. How big and how lively the crowd is. Exactly, getting a good shot of these entrances. I get what the drone shots are for, and largely they work, and I really do appreciate them. One thing WWE has always done, and this is something Triple H can't even overcome, is they'll find something good that works, and they will find a way to overdo it. It can easily turn something great into a nuisance and people will start disliking it. Now, I'm not saying that the drone shots, I don't like them, get rid of them. I'm not saying that. I still like them. However, I noticed that we had like drone shots like what, every 2 to 5 minutes on this show? I think that's excessive. And I noticed it last week, but I didn't say anything because it's the first episode. You know, they're trying to figure it out, but it's episode 2 now. And there's a lot of drone shots. It's like, okay, time and place. I'm not saying you got to get rid of them, but understand when to use it and when it's okay to just pan to your regular cameras. It is very easy to overdo something that's good. So I need anybody who works in production, if you're listening, please figure out the good medium when using these drone shots, because doing too much of them becomes dizzy, becomes overutilized, and then after a while, fans are going to ask you to stop doing them. And I don't want that to happen. That being said, now let's get into the show. Monday Night Raw opens, kind of recapping last week, and then we get into a CM Punk promo. This is not a direct issue I have. It's not even a nitpick. It's just something I want to bring up real quick. Where is this new Raw theme song that's performed by Travis Scott? He was on Raw last week, but he didn't perform the song. It's week 2, and we still have yet to see an intro to Monday Night Raw with this theme song, with the, we still haven't seen it yet. So, on week 3, can we finally see what this song is? Pretty please, Triple H? Travis Scott fan, I want to hear this song. I want to see the intro to the show. Can we hop on that, please? Very soon. CM Punk's on the mic. He's baby facing it up. He mentions John Cena. He says, I can see you. In 2011, Sooplex said, I said months ago that the first episode of Raw should have opened with John Cena versus CM Punk, and we didn't get it. But this is the closest we've gotten to it so far. Basically said John Cena already announced it, so I'm going to announce it. I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble, which we all expected, but this was cool to see. This brought out Seth Rollins, who basically said the same thing, but he called out CM Punk in the process. This brought out Drew McIntyre, who has beef with Seth and CM Punk, but mainly Seth Rollins. He basically said, y'all not going to the Royal Rumble because I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. And just like that, the Royal Rumble field is stacked. And I mean, it's literally just 5 of the 30 men being announced. But these are 5 prospects that could win. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, John Cena, and Roman Reigns. You can make an argument for why all 5 men can win the match. By far, it's the most riveting Rumble match I have seen in a long time. And I think we all could kind of figure out who's going to win. But even still, if any of these 5 men win, who's complaining about it? Unfortunately, I will not be at the Royal Rumble because for those of you who don't know, I work a full-time job and February 1st just so happens to be a mandatory work date for me. Will I be watching it? Yes. Will I be live streaming it? Yes. I'm excited to see that. After that, we finally got the in-ring debut of Penta, who went up against Chad Gable. Now, I said as much on Twitter, I thought Chad Gable got a little bit too much offense in on Penta, especially it being Penta's debut. I'm not saying Penta should have squashed Chad Gable, but Penta was selling a lot in this match. While he sold a lot, he did have his chance to shine. He had his big moves. We got to see a Mexican destroyer, and his finisher is the Aztec driver, which he calls the Penta driver. It was a really good showcase for him. You could tell he was very excited. After the match, he got on the mic. He talked about how happy he is to be here. It's the Penta era. He even spoke in Spanish, which popped the crowd in San Jose. Apparently, Penta's segment and match went longer than it should have, and this led to some matches and segments on the show being cut for time, and talent were not happy about that. But, this is actually very understandable, especially if you're new to the roster and you're cutting into other people's time. I can understand the frustration. I'm sure it's much to do about nothing, but, they'll resolve it, they'll be understanding, and they'll figure it out. Management seemed to be happy about it, so that's a good thing. Penta's debut so far is a success. Let's see how it goes. There was a backstage segment with the Judgment Day. Dominic Mysterio was giving Liv flowers, and she was very dismissive of this. I mean, she said she wasn't mad, but womenese, we know she's mad. It seems like more and more we're heading towards a Judgment Day split of sorts. I mean, Finn Balor keeps losing. I'm sure that's going to be addressed soon. Liv was not happy about Dominic trying to recoup with Rhea Ripley last week, and she should be. The pairing will not last forever. The question just is, when will it end? Maybe WrestleMania season? Not too sure. We got into Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser. I say it like Samantha Urban, even though she's not on Raw anymore. It's just a force of habit. It was a good little TV match. Nothing too crazy happened. Sheamus got the win, and that's it. I don't think it's really heading anywhere, but it was just a match to have on the show. No, let me not say that because after the match, Sheamus and Braun Breaker did have a little bit of a face-off, and then after that was a segment with Jey Uso and Gunther. And that Jey Uso Gunther segment actually had some substance to it because Jey Uso was basically going down deep into his character. Jey Uso wanted a shot at Gunther, and Gunther basically wasn't taking him too seriously. He said, "You're a tag team guy. That's all you are. You were never meant to be in this spot. You lucked into it, and honestly, you're undeserving of it." Jey Uso said, "Yeah, I agree. I didn't feel like I was worth this, but I may have lucked into it, and I did have to take a risk on myself by leaving the bloodline. But I bet on myself, and it worked, and I'm still trying to earn that respect that I deserve outside of being a tag team guy." It was only like a sly 30 seconds, but there was a really good promo in there from Jey Uso that I really liked and really enjoyed. And those two things back-to-back set up two matches for Saturday night's main event. It set up Braun Breaker versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship. Yet another IC Championship match that Sheamus will probably lose. And it set up Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. And this gets a little interesting because I think it would have been easy to just say, oh, Gunther retains, he moves on from here. But after that Jey Uso promo and them basically playing into the fact that you're a tag team guy, you're nothing more than that, I think there is a potential. Now, it may not be a large chance, but there is a potential that Jey Uso could get the upset win. Maybe they do give Jey Uso a small run as World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, he's already moving merch. He's already the most over guy on the Monday Night Raw roster behind like CM Punk, or you could even say besides CM Punk and John Cena. Why not go all in on Jey Uso at this point and just give him a run? It don't gotta be nothing super long. He was even IC champion for longer than a month, and I think that might have been a little bit too short. I wouldn't give him a 1 month reign. I would say maybe like, maybe 2 months. You could even have him drop the title before WrestleMania if you really wanted to be on somebody else. Or have him be the world champion going into WrestleMania. You can do Jey Uso versus Logan Paul for all I care. I don't know. I don't really know exactly what Jey Uso's next story is going to be going into WrestleMania. So this does kind of, I don't know, this could go either way. What do you guys think? Comment down below, let me know. After that, we got Lyra Valkyria versus Dakota Kai to crown the first ever Women's Intercontinental Championship. I thought this match was good in spurts, but for a while it was kind of moving slow and it didn't really seem to be going anywhere. There's like a really dope spot where like Dakota Kai hits a suplex off of the apron onto the outside that looked really, really nasty. I wouldn't say this was like a memorable match in any stretch. I think it was a TV match for the championship that happened. Came out with Lyra Valkyria as the winner. She is the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Championship. I said that if Lyra wins this championship, the direction at WrestleMania could be Lyra versus Becky for the IC Championship. And even though Becky did not show up on this show, and I think she will show up at the Royal Rumble, I think that's where we're heading. Could very easily see Becky Lynch and Lyra in the Royal Rumble together, and Becky eliminates her. Now, do you turn Becky Lynch heel for that match? Because I just don't see Virgo being a heel. I don't see it. So Becky turns heel maybe for that match? I mean, you might be cooking there. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Let me know. We got a little throwaway match between Sami Zayn and The Miz that went in like 4 minutes. This is the match that I was talking about that like if they cut it out of the show, I don't think it affects the show in any way. I think the biggest thing that came out of this match was not even the match itself, but the pre-match segment where Karrion Kross, The Miz, and Sami Zayn were backstage, and Karrion Kross or somebody basically let it slip that the Wyatt Six is going to SmackDown. So that's kind of it for the Wyatt Six, Miz, and Karrion Kross feud. I guess Netflix said we don't want that spooky shit on our show, and okay. Oh, no, listen. The Wyatt Six, they had a lot of promise coming into it. The debut on Raw was awesome, and it was one of the best debuts in Raw history. Ever since that, they have been locked into mid-card feuds with Chad Gable, Karrion Kross, and The Miz. And that's literally all they've been doing since they came in. Outside of that, they have done nothing of substance. So this move to SmackDown seems abrupt, but at the same time, were they really doing anything to begin with on Raw? Like, was this going to lead to an IC championship match for Uncle Howdy? Or like a tag team title run with the Bunny? Like, I don't think this was leading anywhere outside of like, should there have been a proper end to the feud? Yeah, you could say that. I would say there should have been a proper end to it. But again, they weren't doing anything on Raw. I think going to SmackDown with a bit of a smaller roster, maybe there they might have a better shot. Because right now it seems like WWE doesn't know what to do with them. And it's understandable because their gimmick kind of takes place in their own little universe. They're not really compatible with most of the roster. That's kind of the difference between Bray Wyatt in 2013 and the Wyatt 6 now. Bray Wyatt's gimmick stretched into the Monday Night Raw roster. You were able to feel it. You were able to experience him feuding with top guys, feuding over the championship, even with The Fiend. Even though The Fiend was in his own little universe, you were able to experience The Fiend with the other roster. I feel like they're so focused on trying to tell this intricate, deep story with the Wyatt 6 that it only takes place within their own subsection of the show. Because it takes place in their own subsection of the show, they are not associated with the rest of the Raw brand. And that's an issue because they will not progress outside of their own intricate story that involves basically just them and whatever mid-carder comes their way. Maybe it's an issue that could be fixed on SmackDown, but I don't really know what the remedy to that entirely is just yet. Maybe one of you can chime in the comments. Rhea Ripley had a segment on this show, and there was a Twitter post that basically was mocking Rhea Ripley, basically saying everything she usually says as the world champion, and I swear to God, word for word, she said every single thing, and I thought that was funny. Nia Jax appeared on the show. She's from SmackDown, but, you know, she declared for the Rumble, eyeing down Rhea Ripley. Now, I'm thinking the transfer window is that, hey, give us Wyatt 6, we give you Nia Jax, and if that's the case, damn. Imagine being the Wyatt 6 and you get traded for one singular person. Like, that's crazy, bro. Those 5 people are worth one woman. That's crazy. I don't think this is an official, like, she's going to Raw. I think she's just setting the tone for the Rumble. Bayley was here too. I find the purple hair a little off-putting, but hey, that's her hair, that's her choice. We got into a bit of a scuffle, and that was the segment. I'm guessing Bayley's going to be in the Rumble too. This is the most irrelevant Bayley has felt in a very long time. I understand she's a SmackDown girl, much like Nia Jax, but in this segment, Nia Jax shoved her to the mat. She went to go shove Rhea. Rhea didn't budge, but Bayley, you would have thought she got hit by a car the way she went down. I thought that was comical. And mind you, Bayley won the Royal Rumble last year, and she doesn't feel like not even a slither of a chance that she has of winning the Rumble this year. Nia Jax has 10 times the amount of believability of winning that match than Bayley does right now. I'm not going to hold you. If Nia won the Rumble, I don't think I'd be pissed about that. I thought she had a really good run as Women's Champion, and I wouldn't mind seeing her and Tiffany rematch at WrestleMania. I think you could just do the rematch at the Rumble, and I'd be fine with it, but I wouldn't be upset if she won. My money is still on Charlotte returning and winning the whole thing, though. The main event was Damian Priest versus Finn Balor in a street fight, and this was a pretty fun brawl. It went around the arena. There was like this Falcon Arrow off of this platform through 2 tables that was pretty dope. And Balor was getting stretchered out, and I thought that was pretty funny that he was on the stretcher, literally about to go to the back, and somehow the bell didn't ring. The match didn't end. That's because Damian Priest got outside the ring, went to go get Finn Balor, and brought him back into the ring, and they still kept on wrestling. Mind you, Finn Balor was just on that stretcher, looking like he's on the brink of death, and now he's back in the ring, wrestling Damian Priest, giving him a goddamn stomp through a table. I thought that was funny, too. Damian Priest came out the winner of this match, though, and I think this should be the end of this feud. Much like Rhea and Liv, it's starting to overstay its welcome. This should be the end. Finn Balor's got the whole Judgment Day thing going on, but where does Damian Priest go from here is the real question. I don't know. Gunther's still the world champion. I've had my helping of Gunther and Damian Priest matches for the year. I don't need to see it again. Maybe at Elimination Chamber, he goes after Braun Breaker. I wouldn't be upset about that. Overall, I thought this was a great episode of Monday Night Raw. I would give it a solid like 7.5 out of 10. What did you guys think? Comment down below. Let me know. Talk more soon.